What's up, guys? So we got a question from Madison about injuries, and when she sent the question to me, I replied back to her asking her kind of like what injuries she's having. She's having some issues with her neck a little bit, and an issue with the rib, and she says they're caused from a repetitive motion from training. And she says that she just wasn't aware of how much the body tightens up, and she's getting into adulthood, right? Because she started grappling when she was younger, because I know her in person, and she's getting into adulthood now. And so this is one of those unwelcome gifts you get as you get older, right? Because Madison, I know you probably heard your dad talk about it, or even some of the older guys talk about it, like where they're like, man, stuff hurts. Well, now you get to know what that's like a little bit, unfortunately, right? Because that's what's going to happen. But it's a very valuable lesson. If you learn right now what I'm going to talk to you about in the video, if you can start to address this now, you might be able to kind of like steer around it at least a little bit longer without causing too much issues for yourself. But again, she says they're caused from a repetitive issue, and she's wondering if I have any preventative tips for her. So Madison, thanks for the question. Almost jumped right into the video there. With your body, let's think about a car real quick. If I take my car into the shop, right, and get them to do routine maintenance, they'll change the oil, they'll fill the fluids, all that kind of stuff, right? And they'll also take the tires and they'll rotate them. Okay, and they do this so that this way the tread on the tire wears down evenly, so it's not the same, right? Like, because again, if I leave the tires in as they are and I just drive my car around, eventually one of those tires might blow out on me because one tire in the front end or whatever is going to wear down more than the ones in other parts of the vehicle. And so they move them around. So this way you get this nice, evenly worn out tire. The tires last longer than they would otherwise. And, I don't have to replace half the tires now, half the tires later. I can replace them all at the same time. So with your body, you got to use the same idea, because I think of our bodies as a machine, right? And our bodies, whether we like to think of it or not, is in a perpetual state of decay. That doesn't mean that we're just like going to break down tomorrow. It just means that this vehicle that we have is constantly wearing down, and we need to be smart with it. And so one of the simplest things that I can tell you to do is, just like you rotate the tires in a car, rotate the positions you play in jiu-jitsu from time to time. Get away from what hurts. So for instance, let's maybe say you're playing spider guard and your hands are all getting jacked up because people are grabbing grips. Well, stop playing spider guard for a while. Maybe play butterfly guard or half guard where you're doing underhooks and overhooks, or maybe play more no-gi for a bit, right? Whatever it is, get away from what hurts. Because, again, what happens a lot of times in jiu-jitsu, and you're identifying this early, is people get so locked into the normal stuff that they do and they never get away from it, and they do the same stuff over and over and over again, and this creates repetitive issues. Think about it with like pitchers and throwers in baseball, right? They do this throw, and eventually, I guess it's what the ligament that attaches here to the elbow, they have to get Tommy John surgery, right? Because over and over and over again. So repetitive stuff over and over and over again can be problematic. Now, sometimes if you're getting ready for a competition, you got to do what you got to do, right? You got to work on your A game. But when you're training day to day, you're going to get more out of training if you're consistent and you don't hurt. I mean, I think we can all agree on that, right? And one of the things you can do is maybe say, okay, listen, I know that this particular issue, because you've identified it, right, is causing this chronic issue, not acute, right? It's not just like a one-time injury. It's chronic. My neck's hurting and my ribs hurting. So let's go ahead and go to a different position and give yourself time to train. And this way, when you're going to get these massages or you're doing whatever else you're doing, you're not just basically doing it for nothing. Because if you go get those massages and then you immediately go back to the same old stuff that you were doing in the gym, well, expect it just to be a reoccurring cycle. But if you get away from it for a little bit, you can actually give it time to heal. Like right now, just as an example, I have a bruised patella. I basically got these new Origin pants. I got an Origin gi, and I got these Origin pants, and they're so slick. So I was shooting constantly because it felt like I was able to shoot like I do in no gi, and so I'm just shooting, boom, boom, boom. I shot all week doing takedowns with this gi on, and I don't know what happened, but something, boom, hit it, and that was it. Like, it was like the last straw. My little patella's bruised now, and so I can't put any pressure on my knee. I know this, so I'm not going to try to play positions where it might hit. Instead, I'm going to do a little bit of grip fight work, and then when I'm ready, I'm going to play a little bit of half guard and that kind of stuff, and that's what I'm going to stick to. I'm not going to risk it, just because I feel like I have to play the same old stuff. And so that would be the big thing, is rotate the positions a little bit, because that's been the most useful thing for me. It's the easiest that I can tell you through a video. The second thing that I would say is try to find someone that is like maybe a PT or someone that's really good with the way that the body works and is focused on sports training. Not like, because some people will tell you, like, if you talk to a medical professional and you tell them you're doing jiu-jitsu and you show them what it is, they're like, why are you doing that? Like, I've had so many doctors tell me, like, you're going to stop that stuff, right? I'm like, no, I'm not going to stop, right? I had one doctor when I got my nose fixed, and he was like, the surgeon, he actually got done, fixed the nose, and he's like, so are you going to stop doing that? I'm like, no, man, this is kind of like what I do for a living. And he was, as he's like, doing all his notes and stuff, he's like, huh, Okay. Like they just don't get it. But if you talk to someone that's involved with sports and they understand how like crazy athletes are, right? Then they can take a look at you. Like Eugene, if you can't find anybody, talk to my buddy Eugene, runs a physical therapist podcast or jiu-jitsu therapist podcast. And he took about an hour and a half out the other day, and I had him do an assessment on my body because I wanted to see what was causing some of the issues that I was having. And so we did like some tests of my strength and weaknesses and like tightness in certain areas and sort of see where everything connected. Because if you look at the body holistically, it's all connected. So you might have a problem in your back that stems all the way down to your ankles and vice versa, right? So you got to kind of look at the thing as a whole and not just say, my back hurts, so I need to stretch my back. Because it may not be your back. Your back might be tightening up, but it could be a problem in the front, right? Or your problem in your core in the front is causing the issue with your lower back, or the problems with your hips being a little bit off is causing problems with other parts. And so Eugene went through for an hour and a half and like adjusted these. And so if you can find someone like that who can give you afterwards, can assess you and then give you a plan for strengthening, for stretching and everything else, that would be really beneficial. And so I would say those two things alone. One, rotate the positions. Get away from what you're playing right now that's causing the issue. Stop doing the repetitive motion. And if you can find an expert that can really show you some of this stuff to sort of lead you in the right direction personally, right, that can look at your body and assess you, that would be really even beneficial. So Madison, good luck to you, and talk to you guys soon.